me where your thesis and conclusions are.
Sorry, I don't have either. Can I say Danish kindergarten education is my thesis, and may I just say, thank you, that's all to conclude it?
I'm afraid that will not work. A thesis is different from a topic. Your topic is Danish kindergarten, but your thesis should be something that introduces some aspect of Danish kindergarten. So a thesis actually will introduce the main idea and will preview the main points.
Actually, I have introduced a lot of things about Danish kindergarten education. Why is it very difficult for me to form a thesis?
Oh, that's because you don't have a coherent organization. A good organization serves as a roadmap telling your audience what they expect from your speech. And also in the conclusion section, you don't have a summary. And so, the summary part should be some important take-home points for your audience to remember. Therefore, without a repetitive summary of the key points, your audience cannot remember much.
Thank you.
In this unit, I will explain first why organization is important. Second, what parts a speech usually has. Third, ways to organize different parts of a speech. From last unit, you know how to do audience analysis to attract their attention. Now comes the next stage to organize the speech. Organization is vital because first, it allows the audience to remember main ideas. Second, it encourages active rather than passive listening. And third, it allows the audience to anticipate what's coming next. In general, a typical speech contains 3 main parts. First, introduction. It introduces the topic, establishes the purpose of the speech, and conveys its relevance to the audience. Like a preview of what's ahead, like a movie trailer. Second, body presents the main points that support the purpose of the speech, with underlying supporting points arranged similarly. Third, conclusion. It ties together the main points and the speech purpose. The conclusion also indicates the end of the speech with an impressive parting shot. You may remind the listeners of what they just learned or heard, what was important, and what, if anything, they should do with the information, or echo with the introduction if you ask a rhetorical question. Now, let's see what you should do in each part. Introduction is the beginning of a speech. It affects the audience's first impression of the speaker and gives a preview of the speech to the audience. When you have the first contact with the audience, they will decide whether or not to listen to you in the first minute. So, it's very important for you to get the audience excited and interested in your topic with certain strategies. Generally speaking, our introduction contains 4 steps. Step 1, a hook, gaining attention and interest of audience. Step 2, establishing credibility and connection with audience. Step 3, clarifying the purpose and thesis of speech. And step 4, previewing the body of speech. Okay, now let's see step by step. Back to the first step, how to grab your attention. You can use at least one of the following strategies. Strategy 1, cite shocking statistical numbers. For example, using, more than 1,000 people died of coronavirus in one day in New York City. Right? Shocking number. Attract attention. Strategy 2, tell an anecdote or a story. For example, a slice of your personal experience to ring a bell among your audience or to set a stage for a greater message. The story below could be used as an introduction to a speech about the personal joy of a long period of quarantined life.
After the long pandemic winter, I was so happy to see the first signs of spring that I ran outside as soon as I saw our first flower blooming. I plucked the dewy white blossom and tucked it into my hairband and went about my day with joy in my heart.
Strategy 3. Use an analogy. Simply speaking, it's a logical comparison. Here's one example.
When you think about charisma, who do you think about? Lei Feng, Ma Yun, Zhong Nanshan. What about you? Do you have charisma? Many speakers and non-speakers hold the belief that charisma is an innate gift. Either you are born with it or you aren't. But can you learn charisma? Recent research suggests that you can.
Strategy 4. Ask a rhetorical question. A rhetorical question is asked by the speaker, but no answer is expected from the audience. For example, if you want to persuade your audience to show more respect for courtiers, you may start with 2 questions. Do you know how long a courier has to work every day on average? Do you know how many couriers run into accidents just because they want to deliver your commodity within the shortest time? I do, because I was a delivery boy. Strategy 5. Use a metaphor. A metaphor states an unreal comparison. For example, life is a roller coaster ride, full of ups and downs. Strategy 6. Use a quote. I think you are familiar with this device. Strategy 7. Use humor. The use of jokes and funny sayings in public speaking is very necessary to break the ice or lift the barrier between you and your audience. The speaker will feel much relaxed after telling a humor successfully. But remember, if you are not good at telling a humor, don't do it, because you will feel embarrassed if nobody laughs at your joke. There are 3 tips for using humor in your presentation. Number 1, smiling and giving a chuckle to signal that you are joking can help your audience feel empowered to laugh along with you. Number 2, showing a little self-depreciation, but don't make it so heavy-handed that your audience starts feeling sorry for you. That's not a good thing. Number 3, combine content and tone. Look at the following example.
The city of Wuhan has started to disinfect the entire city. This is what's happening. It's pretty damn intense. While Wuhan is under actual quarantine, places like Beijing and the whole country, people are basically voluntarily staying. This is Chinese New Year in quarantine. It's never happened before, but it's really admirable. People are finding a way to do Chinese New Year in quarantine. They have everything. They've got the lion dance. Normally you'd go on vacation. This woman is leading a vacation inside her own apartment. Or you can play mahjong with your friends. So it's really an unusual New Year for many reasons. All of these people that are staying home, they're staying home to keep themselves healthy and they're staying home to keep their country healthy, but they're also keeping you healthy. Because these people didn't talk to somebody who talked to somebody who talked to somebody who got on a plane and then came here. So I want to give a round of applause to all of these people who are staying indoors.
Strategy 8. Visualize a scene or image. By doing so, you may immerse your audience into a setting that relates to your topic. Look at a clip talking about a Roman Colosseum.
Imagine yourself being ushered up a dark hallway and into a huge outdoor theater. Here, you are greeted by 50,000 screaming spectators and one man, crazy for your death, hungry for the thought of ripping you apart limb from limb. you and bloodthirsty, are the only ones inside an arena encompassed by a 15-foot wall, and the 50,000 people are waiting for you to die. From professional football and basketball games to the sporting events at ISU's Redbird Arena, much of our culture is influenced by the success of one great sports arena built nearly 2,000 years ago. The author Alan Baker, in his book, The Gladiator, published in 2001, makes the connection between the ancient Roman games and our culture today. Our own athletes, he states, are merely the pale echoes of the ancient fighters. They display their skill and aggression before thousands of screaming spectators, with millions more watching on television. This is exactly what happened in the ancient world. As a history major focused on Roman studies, I have always been enamored with the stories surrounding the Colosseum. Further, a tour of ancient Rome this past summer intensified my horror and fascination with this great monument. To truly understand the historical impact the Colosseum has had on civilization, it is important to learn of the architectural wonders of the Colosseum, the terror of the Roman games, and the present plans for its restoration.
After a hook, you need to quickly establish your authority over your topic. To strengthen your credibility, you may mention that you are taking a course on a subject, you've read a book on a subject, you've acquired some rich experience from work or social interactions. You've had a hobby that makes you an expert on a subject. You've conducted a research on a subject, or you've interviewed people on a subject. Okay, now move on to body section. You present the main points supported by evidence. Main points are claims that address the issues in the thesis and the major divisions of the speech. Claims are supported by facts, examples. You may use the specific speech purpose and thesis statements to help you generate main points. Generally speaking, from a classroom presentation, 3 main things are sufficient, sometimes even less. Don't make it too many. Of course, you don't have to have 3. 2 or even 1 might work. Research has shown that audience can process between 2 and 7 in one time, but ideal 2 to 5. Audience tend to remember points stated at the beginning, at the end of the speech, but rarely those stated in between. Keep this in mind when planning your speech. Also, main points should never introduce more than 1 idea or topic. So, 1 speech, 1 theme. A well-structured speech will arrange all main points in parallel form or in a similar grammatical form and style. Here's why. Parallel form adds power, authority, and familiarity to the delivery. For example, if you see, the united way is effective, and then the united way is efficient, and then the united way is humane. See, the audience, they don't have to remember every single word every time they hear the key statement. They only need to pay attention to the different expressions. Okay, well-organized speeches have unity, coherence, and a balance. Do you know what they mean? Unity means you use points that are relevant to the purpose and the thesis statements. Coherence means your speech is logically organized. And balance means giving each part of speech appropriate emphasis or weight. There are many ways to organize main ideas. For example, chronological. It's a pattern of organizing main points in a natural sequential order. Time pattern. One element follows another until the climax unfolds. The second order, spatial. It's a pattern organizing main points in order of their physical proximity or direction relative to each other. For example, a speech on a solar system may start with the sun and moves out. 3. Categorical. It's a pattern of organizing main points when each main idea becomes a major division in the speech. In other words, the topic may lead itself to certain natural divisions. For example, your speech introduces a hierarchy of needs: physiological needs, safety needs, needs for belonging, esteem needs, and self-actualization needs. 4. Cause-effect. It's a pattern of organizing a speech points in order, first of causes and then effects, until a cause-effect relationship is well established. 5. Problem solution. A pattern of organizing points such that they demonstrate the nature and significance of problem first, and then provide justification for proposed solution. If I use a metaphor of a house to describe your thesis statement or argument, main ideas serve as a scaffold to the house. To ensure the house stands firmly, you need to add bricks to fasten the scaffold. Such bricks are your supporting evidence. Supporting points justify the main points and encourage the audience to accept the information given. They should be arranged in order of their importance or relevance to the main point. Second, there should be enough information to establish claims or arguments. Third, each piece of supporting material should add something new to the speech. When stating your main points, use parallel patterns to structure your main points. By doing so, your audience can follow you more easily. You may create parallel structure by repeating a wording pattern like, the first thing you need to know when shooting a video clip is, and then the next thing you need to know when shooting a video clip is, and then the final thing you need to know when shooting a video clip is. Or you can use active verbs to create your parallel structure like, steps of a tango dance for females. First, face your partner. Next, place your left hand on his arm above his bicep and strengthen your upper body. Then, keep your weight on the balls of your feet. Extend your right arm up and to the side. Between each two paragraphs, there is something very important for you to mention. Just like you move from one room to another by going through a door, in a speech, you need transitions, serving as the doors. Then what can be used to build up such a door? Transitions are words, phrases, or sentences that tie the speech ideas together and allow the speaker to move smoothly from one point to the next. Transition statements can be posed in restate forecast form. For instance, now that I've explained the major types of transitions common in speeches, let's look at when to use them. Transitions can also be stated as rhetorical questions, which does not really demand for an answer from the audience. For example, are transitions hard to use? You say that they fit quite nicely into a speech, in fact. This is one example. In the reading material section, you may find many transition expressions for your reference. The final part of speech is conclusion. Conclusion is a closing of the speech, which draws together what the speaker has said and indicated what the audience should believe or do in response to the speech. A typical conclusion serves 4 functions. First, signal end of speech. You may use words such as in conclusion, to end, in summary. Second, summarize the main points. You can remind the audience of the main arguments, what you have mentioned, and explained. Third, make final appeal to audience, challenge the audience, or call to action, as you do in a typical persuasive speech. Or use new knowledge in a way that benefits them, as in an informative speech. Or, number 4, wrap up your speech. You should not be drawn out and long. Do this in a quick manner. You can use a metaphor to do it. Remember, the introduction and the conclusion parts are what the audience will remember most. So make sure they are well practiced. For different types of speeches, there are some organizational formula. For instance, if you deliver a persuasive speech, you may use Monroe's motivation sequence structure. In the next unit, I introduce 2 useful persuasive speech structures. Also, in the reading material section, I've outlined a speech. You may have a look. Please read it and see how a good speech should be organized.